Yeah. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddha Saranai, on behalf of the International Dhamma Program, let me welcome you to the Vesak Poya International Dhamma Program. Vesak Full Moon Poya Day is commemorating the three most significant events in the life of the Buddha: the birth of Prince Siddhartha, the enlightenment in his 35th year under the shade of the Sri Mahabodhi in Gaya, and Parinibbana in his 80th year. The Vesak Poya Day is the most sacred day of the year for Buddhists world over. Remembering these three sacred events, Buddhists across the globe observe Vesak Day on spiritual practices, Pratipatti Puja, and Amisa Puja, rituals of offering of flowers, lighting of lamps, etc. The Vesak Dhamma talk will be delivered by Venerable Panadure Chandaratana Thero, the Deputy Abbot of Mitrigala, Nisarnavanaya, Mitrigala, on the topic facing uncertainties in life. Venerable Thero, we have also our committee members who are present here, and also the President of the Mitrigala Administrative Board, Mr. Harsha Gunasena. We have our invitees from different countries of UK, Canada, USA, many of them who are there. And of course, our Dhamma friends, both local and overseas, who are present here. So I must welcome all of them. And we are indeed happy that Venerable Thero has been able to make himself available today for the most important Dhamma talk on the Vesak Poya Day. So just to briefly give a few words of introduction, Venerable Panadure Chandaratna Thero is a Theravada Buddhist monk for nearly 1.5 decades. He is currently the Deputy Abbot of the Nisarnavanaya Monastery in Mitrigala. He has been teaching meditation for about a decade. Prior to ordination, was an electrical engineer and pursued further training and higher education in computer science. Venerable Chandaratana Thero teaches meditation in Sri Lanka and many overseas countries. His special skill is to bring the Buddha's teachings close to the practitioner's heart and to make complex Dhamma teachings and meditation techniques understandable by everyone with exceptional liquidity. I am sure all of you Dhamma friends who are present today will experience them. Today, we are also fortunate that we have Zoom to connect all of us, both locally and internationally. Digitization also gives you a reminder 1 day before and 1 hour before the Dhamma talk. This has helped the International Dhamma Program to conduct our Dhamma programs every Poya Day. I do hope that you all have benefited from these Dhamma talks and that you are closely associated with the Buddha Dhamma and the teachings of Lord Buddha. As you know, that digitization is something that has really helped us. But of course, the new AI or artificial intelligence that is coming in, we hope will bring developments beneficial to the spread of Buddha Dhamma and also give more information to our Dhamma friends to achieve their goal, main goal of Nibbana. With respect, let me also remind all of you, the Dhamma friends, that today, that for the Vesak Poya, we are having two Dhamma talks. One is what we are conducting today, and the next one is on tomorrow, the 13th, and that will be at 6:30 p.m. And this will be conducted by Bante Gunratna Mahathera. And you could use the same link that we have sent to you so that it will be very convenient to you. So with respect, I wish to invite Venerable Panadure Chandaratna Thera to deliver Pansil and commence the Dhamma talk, which will be followed by a Q&A session. And you could send your questions on Q&A, which is there in the platform. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, so in order to observe 5 precepts, may you recite Namo Tassa 3 times.
Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Patiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Yampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Patiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Saranaгаmanang Sampunnang.
Bante
Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Anatipata Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Adinnādāna Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Adinādāna Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Kāmesu Miccāchārā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kāmesu Miccāchārā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musāvādā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Musāvādā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Suramēraya Majjapamā Daṭṭhānā Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Puramani Vemajjapamā Daṭṭhānā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
තිසරණේන සද්ධින් පංචසීලං ධම්මං සාදුකං සුරක්ඛිතං කତ୍වා අපමාදේන සම්පාදේ තබ්බං. Okay, so dear friends, we are going to start the Dhamma sermon and we'll recite Namo Tassa again. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Sabbe Sankhara Anicchati Yada Panyaya Passati Hata Nibbindati Dukkhe Esamaggo Visuddhiyati iti. Dear Dhamma friends, so actually I thought of taking this particular topic, facing uncertainties in life, because some of the devotees actually requested that some time back. And therefore, I thought it's a kind of a timely topic to discuss. Because nowadays we are facing huge amount of uncertainties in our life. So sometimes if you consider the career level, so various careers, various occupations sometimes go through certain fluctuations due to various kind of threats, impacts coming from the economical situation, financial situations. So the careers are in a kind of uncertainty. On the other hand, due to various conditions, our health may be in a kind of uncertainty. We never know what would happen in the future, something like that. On the other hand, sometimes the relationships. So we have various relationships and we think that the relationship may last for a long time, but that also sometimes go through some sort of uncertainty. And even a country situation, even a family situation, all that nowadays seems fairly in an uncertain way. Actually, we can't give any kind of a certainty even what would happen in the future. Because that uncertainty has become fairly significant or fairly visible nowadays. In one sense, it doesn't mean that the uncertainty was not there before, but uncertainty was there. But now, as a result of our communication and the technological advancement, we can see everywhere the how the uncertainty is influencing our lives, how different kinds of uncertainties are happening as we switch on our maybe our TV, maybe once we look at the news articles, or if you get into YouTube or any kind of a mechanism, if you use, you can understand. Okay, things are fairly vulnerable, things are fairly uncertain. So therefore, we thought of sort of using the Dhamma, explore the teaching to get some light from the Dhamma, guideline from the Dhamma, and if possible, to get some strength from the Dhamma. So that would be very advantageous we as Buddhists, because the Dhamma is a kind of a refuge for us. That's why we say Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. So we take the Dhamma as our refuge. So that's what we just recited. So we take Buddha as a refuge, we take Dhamma as a refuge, we take Sangha as a refuge. So that has a deeper meaning. And basically, the Buddha's teaching particularly say the uncertainty about the life, uncertainty about this whole conditioned world. And basically, we can see it accepts this uncertainty. It is not giving some sort of a temporary solution for the uncertainty. Rather, it skillfully accepts this uncertainty. It understands the uncertainty and it accepts and help us to accept in one sense. And then maybe giving us various methods, teaching us various methods to skillfully respond to it. And so one area we can know is what I have just recited, the very first verse, Sabbe Sankhara Anichati Yada Panyaya Passati. So we have heard that Buddha is telling, okay, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. So sometimes Buddha say this is a kind of a lion's roar because some people have never heard it, particularly the fairly long-lived say devas. So they have never heard something like that. So they feel trembled when Samma Sambuddha is telling this particular phrase, Sabbe Sankhara Anicca. All the conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Because when things are fairly good, things are happening in a favorable way, we never think of a opposite, we never think of an uncertain or different way. Rather, we take things for granted and we used to think in a particular fashion, in a particular manner that doesn't usually has this uncertainty. But time to time, life offers us this uncertainty. It pops up in many different ways, and either we like it or not, either we expected it or not, we have to face it. But on the other hand, Buddha again and again emphasized the impermanence, anicca. You all have heard about it, and that's what I have emphasized also. Sabbe sankhara anicca. All the conditioned phenomena are impermanent. So, but we seems forgetting it, we seems denying it maybe, and we seems even though we accept it, probably we still want to find out certain ways to make things permanent, make things certain. But again and again, the reality is that things are changing, things are going through some kind of an uncertainty, vulnerability, and anyway, we have to face it. So acceptance is one area that we need to emphasize. So rather than we struggling against it, rather than we are fighting against it, so accepting uncertainty as uncertainty is one of the very, very important fact. So sometimes people are nowadays talking about acceptance therapy because we deny the reality. We want things to be different than the way things are happening. So that actually produces fair amount of dukkha what we call the suffering. This dukkha is basically, in one sense, happens because we have certain resistance towards what's happening. Say, for example, say prices are going to some hiking. Maybe the goods price, say things are rising, and if we have certain resistance to it, if we are not accepting it, if we are not adapting to it, then there's a huge friction coming from us, huge resistance coming from us. So other than this, whatever physically, financially happen, we unnecessarily arouse some sort of a mental agony, mental friction, maybe even some sort of a despair or complaint, accusations, and all these different things are there. Ultimately, our mental clarity also disturbed, our calmness also disturbed. All these things are there. So whatever happening right now, the way it is right now, is not properly accepted. We resist it. We resist the reality. I'm not saying that we have to be completely passive, but there are instances that things are happening. We have no much kind of a control that we need to admit in a way. So admitting that, accepting that is not a kind of a defeat. So admitting something and accepting the reality is a kind of showing some kind of a courage, kind of a maturity. So therefore, sometimes we have to recognize where to accept, where to have some courage to face things, and where we have to intervene, where we have to sort of fight in a way against. So this is a very difficult area, how to decide it. So in one sense, we can say that decides by our mindfulness, our say proper decision making, in a way kind of an understanding, yoniso manasikara, all that comes to the picture. So anyway, the point is when things are happening the way that we don't want, the way we didn't expect. So that kind of an uncertainty, that kind of a friction, that kind of a dukkha is something we have to accept. And that acceptance basically reduces the dukkha. That's a beautiful thing. So once we accept the reality, it reduces the dukkha. Till we resist it, till we have some kind of friction towards it, when we are acting against it, so the dukkha is further and further improving. But the moment we accept it, we feel calm, we feel relaxed. So basically, there is a kind of a fair amount of mental calmness once things are accepted. So therefore, in life, we have to have some kind of even radical acceptance. Things are happening, but we are radically accepting things. There's a kind of going against that our inner friction. We have to radically accept what's happening. So this radical acceptance is, in one sense, we are learning from the Dhamma, and particularly when we are developing Vipassana. And we use a kind of a term called we are looking at things without judgment. When things are happening, rather we say good, rather we say bad, rather we say positive, rather we say negative, without telling any of these things. So we are learning some kind of an art, how to look at things non-judgmentally. So this is one interesting term we learn in the mindfulness practice, in the Vipassana practice. So when one is developed to some extent, so maybe assume that you are doing some Chittanupassana. So there may be, say, lustful thoughts. So you are looking at it, you are observing it non-judgmentally, without criticizing. There may be some, say, angry kind of thoughts, thoughts of ill will. That also you are non-judgmentally looking, observing. But another level, there may be some loving kindness thoughts. That also we are non-judgmentally looking. So we are developing another level of our practice. So how to non-judgmentally look at the situation, accept the way as it is. So now currently, what is the situation? Okay, I am able to accept it without any kind of an interference coming from myself, coming from my side. And actually, it happens with as we develop our wisdom, because we slowly understand that things are inherently impermanent. It is their inherent characteristics. We have no say about it. We have no power to change it. So things are fairly interconnected, fairly interdependent. And as a result of that, things are changing, going through certain drastic changes. But now I'm able to accept it without adding my own friction. Now I can live without much trouble. So this is one area, kind of radical acceptance. So this accepting change basically naturally loosen the fear, loosen our grip, loosen our some kind of a friction, some kind of a restlessness. And as I mentioned, uh, if we are learning every day, or if we are kind of emphasizing every day, sabbehi me piyehi manapehi, nana bhavo vina bhavoti. Whatever dear to me, whatever agreeable to me, at whatever given occasion, those will be separated. So that's a kind of a bitter truth in a way. So we sometimes want to go against this truth and we want to live in a dream world, but rather, how about directly emphasizing ourselves? How about radically teaching ourselves? Sabbe sankhara anicca. Oh, sabbehi mepehi manapehi nana bhavo vina bhavoti. Whatever dear to me, whatever agreeable to me, ultimately in one time, there may be maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe at many years ahead, that they may change otherwise. So this is a reality in a way. So Buddha's teaching basically emphasized this. So rather than it is giving us a very beautiful magic world, uh, a kind of a heavenly picture, rather the Buddhist teaching actually gives us a realistic picture about our life. So that is the, in a way, the mature approach that we need to understand. So rather than giving very kind of a basic type of, say, appeasement, a consolation, rather Buddhist teaching help us to understand the reality. Okay, this is the way it is. And that way it is actually further we need to practically experience. So that is why in a way the Vipassana practice is extremely important. So not only we accept it, we further realize it. So that is where the practice is. Say we have some kind of an acceptance, but not yet fully realized. So that is another area. So Buddha has mentioned, Dhamma has mentioned, books are mentioned. So everything is mentioned, but still probably my mind is not capable of accepting it. My mind is not yet thoroughly understanding it. So what I need to do is to slowly teach in the mind. Okay, this is the reality. This is the way it is. So in a more gentle way, we are doing it. So we develop certain amount of mindfulness, we develop certain amount of concentration, and then with a kind of an unbiased mind, a focused attention. So different phenomena are observed for a fair amount of time. So what happens is, so this mind is capable of learning. So mind slowly understand the way it is. The mind slowly understand the reality. Slowly it matures. So that's the beauty. It is not that it impossible for the mind to learn. Once the opportunity is given, once the conditions are available, so this mind can be taught, this mind can be learned. And then wise reflection, yoniso manasika. So that's another Buddha's teaching, very important when we are facing our life. Because sometimes what happens is we simply take this face value. We can't think deeply. We simply take the face value, what the outside looking, and we stop there. We are not penetrating. But the Yoniso Manasikara help us to even make kind of changes to our thinking pattern. So how are we thinking about a particular situation? Yoniso Manasikara and Ayoniso Manasikara. So two areas. So if we look at a certain situation from a wrong point of view, in a more ignorant way, then things are going to be more disastrous because we are thinking in a more wrong way. That thinking pattern itself really matters. How we are thinking about a particular situation. Now, say for example, for 1 hour we faced maybe electricity cut, for example. Now, probably we really panic and we really curse the government, or we really want to complain, and we are really going through some kind of uh, mental agony. But how about a situation that maybe a family is there that they never has electricity? They never have electricity. Then how about our situation? So can't we simply bear just 1 hour without electricity, while in others there are vast majority who has never heard about electricity maybe. So then what is our condition? So basically the Yoniso Manasikara help us to in a way measure this situation, properly balance it, and gives us a different perspective, more wise perspective. As a result of that, we can face various difficulties in our life, because life is basically this is the life in a way. Uncertainties are the life in a way. So that's why Buddha often mentioned about the ups and downs of the life, or the eight worldly conditions, or what we call the vicissitudes of the life, atta loka dhamma. So typically the approach is that the we face vicissitudes of the life expecting only the positive side. We want only the gain, we want only the pleasure, we want only the happiness, and we want only the praise, fame, etc. But the life offers the opposite as well. So we can't stop that. Life offers the losses, it offers the suffering, it offers unhappiness, sometimes the ill fame, sometimes the blames, criticisms, also all those things are there. But whenever we are facing all these ups and downs, if we understand, okay, this too will pass, this too is subject to change. That's actually very beautifully mentioned in one of the suttas called Dutiya Lokadhamma Sutta, where Buddha mentioned, so when this the person who is known to Dhamma, so he often, whenever he go through either gain or loss or whatever the condition, he often reflect this too is impermanent. So these none of these conditions are permanent. This too, this whatever the current situation is also impermanent. I can't take it for granted for a long, long time. Even though I got a gain today, I got a profit today, I got a pleasure today, but things can change. So therefore, no point of exalting myself, no point of say up too much, getting to elation. Things can change. So the wise person basically calms down, even though he get a gain, even though he may go through some happy, pleasurable situation. He's not really, exalted by that. He's not going through any kind of too much exaggeration or elation, because he know things are changing. Tomorrow there may be loss. Tomorrow there may be suffering. So therefore he is in a way controlling himself, recognizing himself. He is looking at from a different angle, maintaining kind of an equanimity. So wise reflection, therefore, is quite helpful rather than unnecessarily agitating the mind by too much thinking. How about calming down the mind? How about thinking in a proper way? So, whenever mind is suggesting some unnecessary excessive thinking, how about stopping it? How about changing it? Looking at from a different angle. So, therefore, wise reflection is very, very important. And on the other hand, recognizing our thoughts. If there are habitual thinking patterns which are harmful to us, recognizing them and properly acting against them or abandoning them is very, very important. That is where the Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, those kind of techniques are very, very important. But recognizing thoughts and not allowing it to get into a kind of obsessive state is important, because sometimes the mind has the tendency to kind of multiply the situation, exaggerate the situation. What has happened may be very little thing, but the mind can exaggerate it. Say, for example, now we heard that there's a war going on between India and Pakistan. Probably someone can even exaggerate it. Okay, now India is against us. Okay, or against us, against Sri Lanka, or the Pakistan is against us. So okay, they are also going to hit us. They are also going to attack us. So one can think in many different ways, even in this situation. So the exaggeration is possible by our typical habitual mind, but that way of thinking makes us quite anxious and we might end up with anxiety. All these things are there. So this tendency in the mind to multiply things, exaggerate things, proliferate things is a really harmful trait in ourselves. So recognizing it properly and properly reducing it, avoiding it is very, very important. And then the mindfulness side. So development of the mindfulness and grounding ourselves mindfully, because we have to come to the present world rather than imagining things, rather than forecasting too much things, rather than suggesting things, assuming things. How about grounding ourselves, coming back to the present moment, accepting the present moment, accepting the reality, and grounding ourselves. So that is where the mindfulness is very kind of come into the picture. So mindfulness helps us to ground ourselves, anchor ourselves amidst all these uncertainties. So we have some kind of a refuge in that sense. Sometimes we think, okay, we have no refuge. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. All that kind of panicking can be reduced when we are grounding ourselves. Okay, what happened to the body? Where is it located? Now you know that probably might have heard, whenever someone is going through a stroke, that the one advice by the cardiologist, maybe ground yourself, calm down yourself. Okay, look at the breath, take a deep breath. So that helps us to ground ourselves. So rather than allowing the mind to panic, rather than get agitated, it is true that the body has gone through some kind of a severe pain, maybe a stroke, whatever. But the advice is, okay, first ground yourself. Don't be in a rush. Calm down. Be mindful. So this be mindful is one important aspect we need to learn. We know that things are happening, things are changing, things are quite vulnerable, but grounding ourselves, come back to our senses, be human is very important. So different methods are there: observing breath, maybe doing some body scanning and recognizing our sensations, looking at our emotions, and we just discussed looking at our mind, the thoughts, etc. Now all this help us to develop fair amount of resilience. That's another thing. Now the problem is that assume that we go through some disaster, we go through some calamity. As a result of that, say something has happened, how quickly that we can come back to our normal life. It actually depends on how much we have the resilience. So the mindfulness practice is one important area developing this resilience. It is actually found, scientifically found, that the practitioners of mindfulness, they can quickly come up, they can quickly recover, they can quickly get back to their work. Now, say for example, you are a person, maybe a father, say you go through some severe issue, and assume that you take some leave from your whatever the profession. How well that you are going back to your work? Do you need long change? Do you need long vacation? Or how quickly you can adapt to the new situation, the new normal, and how well quickly and you can go back to our normal life? So that is the resilience. So the resilience is developed as we practice mindfulness. So therefore, to face uncertainties, this mindfulness practice also is another area that we can look at to empower ourselves. And another one I found from the Dhamma is the patience. Kanti paramam tapotitikha. Because we know that at certain situation we have nothing to do. We can't do anything. So our doing capacity is very less. We want to do something, but situation does not allow us to do anything. So what we need to do is simply calm down. Okay, just be patient. So patience is therefore come into the picture and cultivate a kind of a heart with enduring things, enduring difficulties. So we are talking about the patient endurance, kind of a perseverance, forbearance, all these things are there. So, and therefore sometimes Buddha mention even to develop the practice like earth, because you know that to earth there are good things are also people are putting, and even the bad things are they drop. But the earth never quake. Earth is maintaining kind of a solidity. And similarly, the water. Water also people are using for many different tasks. They probably wash the bad things, feel the things with it, but even the good things with it. But water never complain. So therefore Buddha mentioned, okay, to Venerable Rahula, Rahula be like water. Rahula be like, develop yourself like earth. A very, very different way that Buddha giving us a kind of a meaningful advice. So develop our practice like earth, develop our practice like water. Another aspect of water is the adaptability. You know, being like water means we are capable of adapting to any situation, because we don't know the next situation how it's going to happen. But if we have the adaptability like water, then nothing much to worry, because we are capable of adapting ourselves. You know that the water is taking any shape of the vessel, whatever it is poured. If we are able to maintain a life like that, so things are changing, but I am capable of adapting myself. So these are another area with patient endurance coupled with this kind of an attitude. If we are able to adapt to any situation mindfully, patiently, then things may happen, but we can take care of things. We can cope up with it. And developing equanimity, upekka, is another area. So having some mental balance amidst life's ups and downs. It doesn't mean that we are having kind of a mental balance when everything is happy, everything is well. Rather, developing kind of a mentality even when things are falling apart. You probably have heard about a good quality, a sublime quality attributed to the Buddha called Thadi Guna. Thadi. So the Buddha is kind of unshakable. So his mind is unshakable. So he's a kind of really, so he shows the extreme maturity in him. So he has the Thadi Guna, Thadi, this suchness, maintaining kind of a stability of the mind amidst ups and downs of the life with an equanimity. And and on another subject that we can add towards this is the karma. So we know that there are influences coming from many different areas. We can only see certain visible forces. We can only see certain visible characteristics, visible factors. Maybe we can guess, we can we can assess. But karma, on the other hand, is another kind of an invisible force. Sometimes we don't know. Due to the current situation, might have an impact coming from the karma as well. But that doesn't mean everything happens because of the karma, but recognizing that I am having some inheritance coming from the karma. So probably you have heard about very important statement that Buddha asked the monks to reflect. Kammasakomhi kamma dayado kamma yoni kamma bandhu kamma patisarano yang kammang karissami kalyanang va papakang va tassa dayado bhavisamiti pabbajitena abhinnam paccavekka sabbam. So Buddha mentioned, so you have to reflect, okay, I am the owner of the karma. I am the owner of my karma, the heir of my karma. The karma is my origin. Karma as my relative. Karma as my resort, my refuge. So I will be the heir of whatever karma, good or bad, that I do. So because sometimes when things are falling, things are uncertain, sometimes we forget about the karma and we simply jump to our own easy kind of a method. But the problem is we have to be responsible for what we do. So even though the situation may be bad, what we do matters. We can't say it as an excuse. What we do really matters. So therefore, in a way, even things are difficult, without giving up the precepts, without giving up our good qualities, still continuing our good way of life, our ethics, etc., gives us a lot of confidence. Actually, we can see that recently I heard that, and I have seen through the internet, that the country in Sri Lanka, there's a major accident has happened in countryside, and there are people, without caring even about their life, they have helped the others to take them up, to relieve them from the under the bus, to take them to the hospital. So people have collectively, wholeheartedly worked there. So now things are actually falling apart, but even the passengers inside, after they comes out, they help others also to come out. So this is actually the humanity coming up. So these kind of disasters, these kind of uncertainties, actually giving us another opportunity to test our human qualities. So rather than only think about ourselves, still recognizing, okay, this karma, whatever the good qualities really matters. So not only myself, let me help the others as well. So therefore, accepting the karma, operating within the proper standard of the karma in an ethical way is also matters to face the uncertainties. And on the other hand, as we continue the practice, particularly the Vipassana practice, it helps us to understand the non-self. Because we want to control things, thinking we have kind of a self-control. Self in the sense, including kind of an agent. Okay, there's an agent, and that is the one governing the whole thing. And maybe I also have such kind of a capacity to change things, control things. So things are under my control. So this is the wrong perception we sometimes have. But as we practice Vipassana, understanding of impermanence, understanding of the changing, understanding of the, in a way, the inevitable suffering, unsatisfaction, help us to understand the non-self as well. So once we understand non-self, it gives another dimension to our this topic today. Actually, understanding non-self help us to face the uncertainty, because we know that there is no self here. So things are fairly interdependent. So as a result of that, okay, I have to face it because things are non-self, under the non-self reality. So this surrendering is not a defeat, by the way. So because understanding is a based on understanding, you accept things rather than kind of a mere surrendering, but you understand the reality. Okay, things are like this, so I can accept it, something like that. So so basically, these are the points I like to highlight. And as a last thing, there's a beautiful sutta called Mahanama Sutta. And there Buddha highlights faith supported by virtue, generosity, and wisdom leads upward. So we are developing the wisdom, we are developing generosity, we are developing maintaining virtues, and the faith is supported by these qualities, then we are moving upward, something like that. So therefore, life is in a way the uncertainty. Life offers us kind of an uncertain reality, but helping us to understand, teaching us to understand is very important, and that is where the Buddha help us. So again and again he emphasized, whenever he himself go through the situations. Now, say for example, uh, once Venerable Sariputta passed away, you know that the chief disciple of the Buddha, Venerable Ananda was quite little trembled in a way. Even though he's a Sotapanna, still he has gone through some kind of a, uh, you can say, little bit of mental despair. But Buddha emphasizing, Ananda, this is the reality. Did I mention you? Did I tell you that the all these conditioned phenomena are impermanent? Didn't I tell you? So that is how Buddha radically changed the mind of the Ananda, reminding, okay, this is the teaching. I have mentioned, I have told you, I have preached you. Things are uncertain, things are impermanent. All these conditioned phenomena, either you like it or not, they are changing. So how are you going to expect the opposite? So this is a radical question that Buddha is asking from Venerable Ananda when Venerable Sariputta passed away. Because you know that Venerable Ananda and Venerable Sariputta had a very close relationship. Venerable Sariputta is often advising Venerable Ananda and they have a really good understanding. It's a very good, beautiful relationship. Once Venerable Sariputta passed away, it's very difficult to bear that. But Buddha giving a real answer there, Ananda, you got to accept it. This is what I have mentioned. I know what a profound qualities Venerable Sariputta has, but this is the reality. So therefore, we need to understand this reality. Actually, Buddha's teaching help us to accept it, bear it, cope up with it, adapt to the new situation, and to face the life with some courage. Because things are like this. This is the way it is. So this is giving us kind of a different aspect, different perspective of our life. Uncertainties may be happening, things are changing, but I have developed some kind of a courage based on the Dhamma. So Dhamma is here to teach me. Dhamma has taught me certain lessons. Dhamma has given me kind of a different way of looking at things. As a result of that, I am capable of handling things. So if one is having this kind of a courage, then he can face the uncertainties. So that is where actually the Dhamma helps. So you very much like using the Dhamma to develop these skills in the mind, inculcate these skills in the mind, then whenever life offers all these ups and downs, probably we can go through it without much trouble. Even if we fall, we can quickly arise because of the resilience. So with that note, I like to conclude today's Dhamma sermon. I like to open the session for questions.
Hmm. Thank you very much, Venerable Thero. I think that was really a very practical session. So I'm sure many of us who are present here would like to maybe ask any questions. So as I said earlier, you can send it on Q&A, any sort of questions that you have. Now, one of the most, I think, the important topic of uncertainty came in Venerable Thero, but then these uncertainties are really maybe not arising as a result of one's own maybe occurrences or happenings, but maybe due to outside maybe matters that come in. So in that sort of situation, because then mainly one would always maybe try to blame someone else for doing it. How do you really react to that, Venerable Thero?
Yeah, so that is where actually, Professor, that the five niyamas are something that we need to pay some attention. So kamma niyama is one area because of one's kamma, so there can be a certain thing can happen. That is one area. But there are other factors also has a huge influence. One is the utuniyama because of the climatic changes. So the climate is changing. There are environmental factors are there. That is also an influencing factor. So what is the current climatic situation of today, weather situation of today. So that is coming from the environment. That also has a big impact. So the Utuniyam. And then the Bijaniyam. So when things are happening in a particular manner, okay, it is producing some form of a result. So that is how things are working. Like, so if one condition occurs in one way, inadvertently it is giving this kind of an impact, this kind of a result. So the bija niyama is there. And bija niyama, kamma niyama, utu niyama, and two more there. Chitta niyama. So the kind of the psychological side. So our own psychological impact is also there. So how our mind being sort of conditioned, how our mind is influenced by others, and how our mind being brought up from our childhood. So all that kind of psychological impact is also comes to the picture. So therefore we can't simply say it is just because of the outside things are happening, but there are many influencing factors we have to consider. It is very quickly people jump to the conclusion that okay, this is the reason, but there are many other influencing factors, actually in a way very difficult to decide sometimes. That's why we need to probe very carefully to find out the exact reasons. And as we know, sometimes recognizing the karmic influence is very difficult. It is very much like hidden to us. So that area is not 100% accessible to us. But in a way, accepting things radically has a chance, by the way. Because what happens typically is we resist the reality. We keep on resisting the reality. We want to fight against it. But at one point, when we are accepting it, it makes a huge change. Actually, I have heard about this from many patients whenever they are talking about their own experiences, particularly the cancer patients. Now, whenever someone is found with the cancer, at first they start struggle. They deny it. They don't want to accept it, and that gives us a huge mental despair, kind of a stress and all that, and they are becoming panic and they may be crying, etc., etc. All these difficulties are there, but at another moment they decide to accept it. Okay, I accept it, I surrender. Okay, this is it. Okay, it is there. So kind of a acceptance. So once they accept like that, now maybe the cancer even start recovering. So therefore, this is something that we need to learn, because the sometimes the life situations are there for us to mature ourselves. So we can't simply resist the situation, resist the impact. Rather, how about accepting it?
Right. Thank you, Venerable Thero. We have some questions, but before that, I will just maybe get one of our panelists to say a few things. Udaya, do you have anything that you would like to comment or ask any questions?
Yes, thank you, Professor Lakshman. Bhante, thank you. It is a very useful discussion, and it teaches us how to cope up with the situation or how to handle uncertainties. The question that came to my mind, actually, you touched upon on that regarding the sick people and all that. But if you think everything, we will not surrender, the medical advances that are happening and has happened is because we did not surrender. The scientists, the doctors want to find a solution, and that actually benefited. So um, if people think, okay, this is uncertain, so nothing can be done, then it will would have not found a lot of things in the society or in the science. So how
Correct.
would you handle that or answer that?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that question. So that's why, I mean, it's very difficult to decide with a clear cut mark, okay, when to react, when to act, when to find solution, and when to accept, when to surrender. That it actually it depends on the circumstances. It's a kind of a circumstantial situation where we are the ones we have to decide in a way. Okay, when I need to intervene, when I need when what is the occasion I need to intervene, and what is the occasion I need to stop my intervention. I mean, we can't simply say any clear-cut margin on that. So at that moment, whenever a situation arises, we need to ask that question from ourselves based on our intellect, based on our mindfulness, based on our wisdom. Accordingly, at that situation, we have to take the correct decision. We can't simply pre-plan. That's what I feel. We can't pre-plan. Okay, when it happens, I need to take this decision. Pre-planning like that, I feel it's maybe giving us a wrong direction. But at that given moment, if I am mindful, if I am well with the reality, 100% with the reality, then with that capacity, I can take an unbiased decision. Actually, correct decision making is one of the key areas of the mindfulness practice. The point is, now, say for example, now in mindfulness practice, we are learning kind of a capacity we are developing to look at things from a different angle. Now, say, for example, rather than I am breathing in, I am breathing out, you are looking at phenomena. Okay, there is in breath, there is out breath. That's a huge change here. And that is what exactly Buddha points out in the suffering also. There is suffering. Idang dukkhang arya satchang. There is suffering. It is not that I am suffering, rather, there is suffering. A huge change in our perspective, a huge change in our way of looking at things. So, whenever a situation happens, so you step out of the situation and looking at the situation from a different angle, from a bird's eye view, something like that. You are getting an overview rather than being a victim of the situation. You are coming out of it and you are looking at from many different angles. So that is actually a capacity a practitioner is building. Rather than being a victim and crying and lamenting and all that, you step out of the situation and you are looking from many different angles while well grounded in mindfulness. So that gives us a fair good opportunity to get the correct decision. So therefore, that decision at that moment, if it decides, okay, I better attack, or I better find a solution. I better take an action. Okay, we have to take an action. But at that moment, that mindfulness, that wisdom, that capacity decides, okay, at that moment, there is nothing to do. I have to be calm. I have to relax. I have to be patient. Okay, we have to be patient. I think that is the way we have to handle things.
Thank you, Venerable Thero. There is a question from Mr. Indakumar Gunatilika. Regarding meditation practice, would the Reverend suggest which practice to start with? Is it all right to start with Metta Bhavana and then get on to Anapana Sati?
Yeah, actually, this is a common question. You can typically
Venerable Thero, the sound connection, I think there is a problem.
Yeah.
Is it a connection problem or what is it?
Looks like it's on Bante's end. Yeah, he must have. I think.
Yeah, he has to, he's gone off.
Yeah, I think he's going back in again. I think.
We'll wait a few minutes. I think Venerable is having some problem with the connection, internet. Harsha, can you just check
Yeah,
and see?
Professor May. Venerable says that his internet, I just now contacted him. His internet is disconnected and he is trying to get the connection. Be
All right,
patient
okay.
for a while.
We'll wait a few minutes. Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Uncertainty.
Yeah, answer.
Harsha, till Venerable comes, would you like to say a little about what Venerable spoke on? You got dark. You can put your light about that. Then your little dark.
Yeah, I will say something.
Yeah.
Actually, the Venerable said that to develop certain qualities, say patience, adaptability, equanimity, tadi, means unshakableness, like that. I think the best way to develop is the mindfulness. Develop in the sense there's a standard practice. You sit, concentrate on your breath and anapanasati, so that and the walking meditation, so that you can develop mindfulness gradually, so that I think rather than trying to develop patience, this is the way. I think patience, I believe, automatically will come with the development of mindfulness. So the best thing is, rather than the patience is probably, I believe, is an outcome. Adaptability is an outcome. Practicing mindfulness is the one you can do, rather than focusing on the other thing. I mean, till Bhante comes, I can
Yeah.
say something else because I am a student of different cultures. Say one of the ways, I mean, Hofstede dimensions, one of the ways to evaluate culture is there's a thing called uncertainty avoidance. Say in the Sri Lanka, uncertainty avoidance, it means uncertainty avoidance means if the uncertainty avoidance is low, you are prepared to face it. If the uncertainty avoidance is high, you are not prepared to face it. You avoid it. And Theravada countries, I mean, it's a bit interesting. Theravada countries, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Myanmar is sort of moderate. But in China, it's low. In Singapore, it is 8. In China, 30. Sri Lanka, 45. Thailand 64 and Myanmar is bit high, 85. I don't know. It's we, we should ask Bante. I mean, with the practice of mindfulness, with the practice of these things, if the entire nation is doing this, I believe the uncertainty evidence should be low in Theravada countries. That is my my observation.
Thank you, Mr. Harsha Gunasena. What we'll do is there are some questions that have come. If any of our panel members can maybe answer them, we can take it up. And also maybe if there are any from the those who are attending and would like to answer anything, they can maybe put their hand up so that I can then give them an opportunity to speak. One of the first questions is Champa Gunawardena, referring to the non-judgmental observation towards angry thoughts. Venerable Bhante, could you please define the words non-judgmental?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, if you can.
Can I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-judgmental observation is the basic thing in mindfulness.
Harsha,
practice.
do you have a light there which you can put because you are very dark in your place?
No, that's
Normal
this is
thing.
all I can do. Yeah,
Right.
something.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And non-judgmental means if you say anger, what we do is what we think is anger should be avoided. You should do away with anger. Say if the lustful thinking, you should do away with that, and that is the basic thinking. But in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha says that if the lustful thinking or anger rises, what you have to do is you have to observe rather than trying to get rid of that. So basic observation, non-judgmental means rather than condemning it, rather than appreciating it, you you just observe it. Say sometimes anger comes, you observe anger, the grade of anger, so that very observation in future, when you keep on observing, in future that might lead to do away with the anger. But at the moment, in Satipatthana Sutta also, the Buddha says that just observe, don't try to get rid of it. So that is the non-judgmental observation.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harsha. Then there's another question, anonymous attendee. Why are we trying to tick all the boxes in conventional life when everything is impermanent? You like to answer that, Harsha?
Yeah.
Why
When everything is impermanent, why do you want to tick all the
tick all.
Because we in the normal world, in day-to-day life, although Buddha says that it is anicca, dukkha, anatta, we take the life as nitya, sukha, atta. So that is the way we face the life. We face, although we understand that when we go to a funeral house, we understand that it is anicca. But in day-to-day life, we soon forget. Once we come out from the funeral house, we realize that okay, we approach the life as sukha, nitya. So that approach, I mean, you cannot develop anicca, dukkha, anatta approach because you are in nitya, nitya, sukha, atma. So what you have to do is, like I explained in the previous question.
Harsha, Venerable
answering-
Thero is logged in, no?
Right, great. I quickly finish it.
Yeah,
And,
finish this.
And so if you can develop the mindfulness, then you will gradually lead to that anicca, dukkha type of realization. Yeah, you can, Venerable Bhante is
Right.
there.
Thank you. Yeah. Venerable Thero, you're there now?
Yes, yes. Hope you can
Right.
hear me. Yeah.
In your absence, I have answered certain questions.
Exactly. Exactly. Today,
I
since
think,
we are talking about the impermanence, uncertainty, so it has showed us practically about the uncertainty.
yes. So there are a few questions, Venerable Thero. I read it. Thank you, Bhante, for a valuable and practical talk. To develop this resilience, would one need to strengthen the mind through developing concentration and in turn mindfulness? So, bhavana, daily practice, essential to achieve the resilience.
Yeah, actually, we need to little correct the question. It is we develop mindfulness first. As a result of that, we develop concentration. It is not that we develop concentration and then turn into mindfulness. Rather, we start developing mindfulness, and as a result of the development of mindfulness, one may understand, okay, now the mind is capable of maintaining its capacity, maintaining this focus. It's not shifting, it is not jumping. Rather, it maintained its whatever the object it is now keeping is for a long time. So therefore, starting with mindfulness is the best thing. And as we develop, then the concentration happens naturally. Then slowly, slowly, we have to get into the little this vipassana practice. So the Satipatthana Sutta actually covers different areas. So first of all, we are establishing mindfulness. So rather than allowing the mind to get scattered, shifted, or distracted, so we are finding a kind of an object. That's what we call it as a primary object. Again and again, keeping our attention on that primary object. Help us to develop certain amount of mindfulness. But that practice at one level, you understand, okay, now mind has another capacity. That is the concentration. Now mind doesn't want to often get distracted. Rather, it likes to stay at a given object. At whatever a focused object can be used, and mind doesn't want to quickly jump to this and that now. That monkey mind is a little reduced now, so it is maintaining kind of a concentration. Then, of course, you need to find out how the things are happening. You need to do the investigation part. You need to do the vipassana part. So that is where we are strengthening ourselves with the wisdom, giving us an opportunity, giving an opportunity to the mind to learn from various phenomena. It may be bodily phenomena, it may be feelings, it may be thoughts, it may be emotions, everything in a way teaching us.
Thank you, Venerable Thero. There's a question from Kumudu Karunaratna. Venerable Sir, how would you like to explain to us Sabbe Sankara Dukkha?
Yeah, actually, the impermanence is the entry point in a way. Anicca is the entry point. So as you again and again see this impermanence, then a natural effect of mind is to recognize the suffering. One may admit, okay, there is a constant oppression of this impermanence happening. All the different phenomena are subjected to this impermanence. It is impossible to stop, impossible to avoid. So it's therefore you admit it, okay, this is kind of an unsatisfactory situation. This is a kind of a constant oppression available. There is no way to stop it. Something like that. So that is how one may admit the dukkha. But on the other hand, there are, say, according to the typical commentarial explanation, there are 25 ways, 25 different ways that sometimes explained with respect to dukkha, probably you have heard about it in the Mahachattali Sakara Vipassana Bhavana. So there are 25 different facets, different facets of the dukkha is also explained.
Thank you, Venerable. Another question, an anonymous attendee. Sir, you prescribe that when life faces situations that could impact its survival or maintenance, it's useful to accept and adapt to that situation. However, the Buddha himself was a radical who challenged the situation and made a change to his life. Hence, does it mean we need to face uncertain situations on case basis where the
Exactly.
counter strategy could change case to case, either with challenging the situation or just adapting to it or mix of it?
Exactly. So actually, that's what the very first question, I can't remember the gentleman who asked that. So same question, actually, how to decide, when to decide, or basically how to decide on what basis that we are going to decide, okay, here it's a time to act, here's a time to fight, here's a time to sort of go against the situation, or here's a situation to surrender, to be patient, to calm down, to relax. So both are there. So all these two sides we need to take. It depends on the circumstance. So you can't have a pre-plan. Rather, better equipped with mindfulness, equipped with wisdom, and that clear clarity of the mind. And at that given occasion, at that given moment, it is up to our wisdom, it's up to our mindful wisdom, which has to decide, okay, at this occasion, I better react, I better intervene. Or at another occasion, yes, at this moment, there is no point of intervening, there is no point of reacting. I need to surrender, I need to be patient. It's case by cases, of course.
Thank you, Venerable. There's one from Kusum Jayasuriya. Thank you very much for your Dhamma Desana. Value your description of anatta as non-self rather than no-self. At the same time, one's karma, good or bad, follow the same person. How we should compare the two aspects?
Karma follows the same person.
Karma's good or bad follow the same person at the same time.
I don't know what exactly is meant there. So I'm
The first,
thinking what she mentioned, she meant from that karma thing. So I mean, if we are thinking that the whatever someone's karma may get into someone else's, so that is not the point. So what you reap, what you sow is what you reap. So that is a kind of a fact. So if you put say mango seed, then you get a mango fruit, simple something like that. So if you put something different, then you get something different. So likewise, so whatever we do, either bodily, verbally, mentally, so that is what going to give us kind of a result maybe in the future. And therefore, that is the typical karma explanation and the heir of the karma, the owner of the karma. So that's why the terms like karma sakomhi, karma dayadu, karma yoni, karma bandhu, karma patisarma, these terms actually gives us that emphasis, okay, whatever the actions I do, I inherit that. I inherit that. So I become the owner of the impact. I become the owner of the results of that karma. What is the other part, Professor?
the one is 1 minute. That is a value. Thank you. Value your description of
Anatta.
anatta as non-self rather than no self.
There is a subtle difference. I also can't remember. Uh, so basically, in the one aspect of, or rather, I'll say a couple of aspects of non-self. So anatta, sunyata, and then Parato, different aspects are there with respect to non-self. So the anatta particularly means there is no eternal soul. Any ongoing eternal soul is not there. So that is the anatta in oneself. And on the other hand, there is no controller, there is no governor kind of thing, and things are beyond our control. That is another aspect of anatta. On the other hand, there is no intrinsically core or any kind of hard core available. That's another, nothing substantial. That's another meaning for anatta. So that is empty. So the core, there is no inner core. Things are empty. Like, so what appear like compact, ultimately it is not compact. So things are kind of a flux. It is, even though things appear like compact, solid, it's not really solid. Another meaning we can say. And on the other hand, if we consider the sunyata, where Buddha emphasized, it is sunyamidang attenava attaniyenava, where there is no self and what belongs to a self. That's another meaning. So different shades of meanings are there. I can't say that we need to master each and every meaning. So different people, different practitioners may understand different shades of this as the anatta teaching.
Thank you, Venerable. There's a question, anonymous question. Venerable Bhante, I am a social worker. Many times I come across people who selfishly do things for their own benefit. When some things happen, I always criticize them openly. Though the others do not approve such things, they maintain silence. As a result, the person doing the wrong thing become angry with me. Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, actually, this actually depends on the situation. As you said, now say for example, if you are a parent, if you are an administrator, say when our children is ill behaving, when to tell it, when to intervene, if necessary, when to punish, when to say advise. Now all these things are, as we already discussed, depends on the situation. This depends on the case, depends on the circumstance. And we can't give a solid answer. So you need to decide at that moment, okay, am I advising that person properly? So in one sense, actually, we can say Buddha has given us some directions. Okay, whenever you are intervening, whenever you are talking, you need to figure out whether the person to whom that I am talking is ready to listen. Is he in a particular a good mood to listen to me? And what I am telling is the truth. It is not that I am exaggerating or something like that. Rather, whatever I am going to tell is the truth. That's another thing. And do I have kind of an empathetic, kind heart when I am telling it? Oh, I am immediately with anger and I want to criticize. I want to, extremely in a harsh way. I am to blame the person. So if it is the case, then I'm wrong. So I need to recognize, okay, what is my mood? Am I agitated? Am I in a really agitated mood? Or am I able to calm down myself and maintain in the proper behavior in myself? So likewise, Buddha has given us certain directions. Even the truth, whenever we are talking, we have to have some sort of a uh, grounding about ourselves. We should know we are talking with some kind heart, empathetic heart, and I'm talking only the truth. That is also at right time, and the other person is ready to listen. Then maybe I can talk.
Thank you, Venerable. Question from Anand Manage. Venerable, uncertainty is the reality, but living beings tend to believe always the certainty. Why this happen has happened habitually in our minds.
Yeah, it's a kind of a habit. Yes, I agree with you. So rather than accepting the reality, we tend to live in a dream kind of a thing. So on the other hand, Buddha made it very clear, anattami attamaning passalokam sadevakam. So where there is no self, but the ignorant person perceive that there is a self. So those are typically mentioned as the vipallasa, distortions or the inversions happening in the mind. Anicce nicca sanyi, dukkhe sukha sanyi, anatte atta sanyi. So where there is impermanence, we perceive wrongly as permanence. Where there is suffering, we perceive wrongly, erroneously as satisfaction, as happiness. On the other hand, where there is no self, we perceive wrongly as a self. So those are the vipallasa.
And next one is from Lionel Jasingha. Venerable Bhante, could you kindly explain how samatha and vipassana practices can be integrated into anapanasati meditation?
Yeah, actually, at first, through anapanasati, we are developing certain amount of samatha. Say, assume that your mind get distracted, and again you are bringing it back. Again distracted, again bringing back. So we can't say we are practicing vipassana, and we of course calming down the mind, relaxing the mind, taming the mind. So all these things are there. So certain aspects of samatha, but there may be another level, another stage. Okay, now mind stays with the breath. Okay, continuously 20 breaths you can maintain your attention. Continuously 50 breaths you can maintain your attention. Continuously 100 breaths you can maintain your attention. Now it shows kind of a significant change in ourselves. Okay, previously I couldn't do it, but now continuously for 100 breaths I can maintain my attention on breathing. So that you can achieve in a way. There we can say, okay, now a significant amount of not only mindfulness, even the concentration being built up. Now mind doesn't want to jump to this and that, rather it prefers to stay with breath. That is one area that you can recognize. The other thing is the breath itself evolves. It also does not stay as it is. Rather, it might now have changed to a very subtle breathing, very relaxed breathing, and you might even can't recognize whether the in-breath or out-breath, that even those differences are gone, and it's a mere sensation is available, and you might feel little happiness, inner joy is there. All these indicates, okay, your mind has fairly calmed down, very relaxed, all the hindrances are abandoned, and mind is capable of maintaining its focused attention for a fair amount of time. Now you are suitable to a thorough investigation. So, in a way, we are saying, first of all, we are preparing the mind, properly paying mindfulness and having developing mindfulness and concentration. And once it is significantly available, developed, then we can do the vipassana investigation part.
Thank you, Venerable. There's a question from Champa Gunavardhana. Venerable Thero, can our mind itself create mental uncertainties? I mean, not the things happening outside oneself.
Yes, I too think like that, because you know that the mind has the capacity to imagine things. That's another capacity available in the mind. Mind can hypothetically imagine things that can create even some kind of mental kind of situation. Okay, you can get into you can assume that you can imagine, you can think, you can proliferate, you can fabricate. All these things are there. All the capacity is there. If you are doing it in a wrong way, it can create kind of a mental issue, which could be even cause some mental disease, because there are people who are too much thinking, overthinking, and they get into some mental issues. So that is not something they expect, but it's a kind of a uncertainty that they unknowingly or knowingly, purposely, they prepare. They have created. So that's why thinking is a really important tool, skill that we have. But if we are not wisely manage it, properly manage it, then we are the ones going to suffer.
Thank you, Venerable. Final question from Anand Tilakasiri. Thank you, Bhante, for the Dhamma discourse. I think the previous person's question is, if there is no self who is experiencing the results, no self who is experiencing the results of the karma.
Right,
Then
right.
we go,
So, yeah. Yeah.
Then
So this is
yeah.
this is a kind of a question that often people are asking: if there is no self, who is actually going through the karma? Actually, even though you are asking this question, and we are teaching that the Buddha's teaching is emphasizing the non-self, but we can't simply operate based on that teaching. Whenever we are acting ignorantly, we act as a person. So our mind is very much like embedded with ignorance and the craving. So particularly the ignorance causes us to act as a person, as an individual. So that produces the karmic potency. So that karmic potency is developed, accumulated, because we acted ignorantly as a person. Then at a later time, again as a person, that you may be going through the repercussion. Even though ultimately, in the ultimate sense, there is no person, but ignorantly we perceive as a person, ignorantly we act as a person in a deluded way. Therefore, it has the capacity to produce karma, and that karma ultimately you basically go through as a person. That is unavoidable. Simply arguing that there is no self, then who is going through the karma doesn't matter, doesn't give any answer, because we are acting as an individual, we are acting as a person, we are acting in an egoistic way. So therefore, superficially, even though we know there is no self, but we are not operating based on that teaching, based on that understanding. So the person who is operating based on the understanding is the Arahant. The Arahant has fully penetrated the truth. So he is operating based on that reality, based on that non-self. So there is no accumulation of karma for him. But for us, either we simply superficially argue, doesn't matter. We still go through the karma because we accumulate karma as an individual, ignorantly as a person.
Thank you, Venerable. I think our time is short. There are one or two others, but we are unable to take. So can I invite our committee member Kamal Nilavira to pay merit and also to thank Venerable Thero?
Thanks, Lakshman. Thank you. The International Dhamma Program is very fortunate to have Venerable Panadure Chandraratna Thero to deliver the Dhamma talk today on the Vesak full moon Poya day. The Venerable Thero has participated with the International Dhamma Program on many occasions in the past, and we are very, very happy that you were able to find the time today to be with us. To deliver the Dhamma talk, facing uncertainties of life. The Venerable in the sermon explained day-to-day practical issues very well, and Buddha's teachings to cope with uncertainties of life. What we do matters. Understanding Vipassana and the karmic understanding influences mindfulness, acceptance of uncertain issues. Much merit to you, Venerable Thero. Also, I want to thank all the venerables and the bhikkhunis and the Dhamma friends from many countries who participated today in the Dhamma program. Thank you very much. Also, it's important that I thank Mr. Harsha Gunasena for his participation. Thank you very much. On behalf of our committee, I wish to thank Lakshman for organizing the Dhamma program today. Thank you, Lakshman. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Kamal. May I now invite Venerable Chandaratna Thero to pay merit to the Devas and the departed.
Yeah. So we'll recite the traditional verses to share the merits. Actually, today on an important day, we have gathered virtually and still discuss very interesting and practical Dhamma, and all the merits what we have accumulated, we share with all the past relatives, we share with all the celestial beings, and we share these merits with whoever the beings who are in need of merits. And we wish these merits help us also to attain path, fruition, nibbana, and we'll recite the traditional verses. එත්තාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ දේවා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පත්ති සිද්ධියා එත්තාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ භූතා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පත්ති සිද්ධියා එත්තාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ සත්තා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පත්ති සිද්ධියා ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ශාසනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු දේශනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු මම් පරං ඉදං වෝ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා සාදු සාදු සාදු.
Thank you very much, Venerable Thero. We pay much merit to you. And I must also say that on this Vesak Poya Day, we had a very good audience. Almost 237 participants were present. So I know that this would have really benefited all of them because it was really a practical Dhamma Desana and something that we have on a daily occurrence. So I must thank Venerable Thero again for the a great talk that Venerable Thero has given, and also the support that Venerable Thero has given to us at all times. And we wish Venerable Thero all the good Dhamma talks, and not only in Sri Lanka, but also overseas, that Bhante is carrying on, and that the meditation practices which everyone is doing. And as I said earlier, everyone has really understood Bhante's Dhamma talk. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah, Theruvan Sarnai.
So,